Hi, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about strange houses. So first, I want you to unscramble the sentences over here. Pause the video while you work on this. Okay, let's go ahead and check your answers. You should have: the house built on a tree is one of the safest houses. The house standing upside down is quite unusual. The house built with a big smile makes people stop and stare. The house built in the shape of a big shoe makes you wonder about the smell. Did you have the same? Good job. Now, let's match the houses to their description. Pause the video, please. Okay? In picture number one, you should have matched with sentence 4. The house built in the shape of a big shoe makes you wonder about the smell. Next house should be sentence number 2. The house standing upside down is quite unusual. Next house, sentence number 1. The house built on a tree is one of the safest houses. And the last, sentence number 3. The house, built with a big smile, makes people stop and stare. Okay? Great. Now let's continue. What structures do you see repeated here? And how many clauses does each sentence have? You may pause the video if you need to. So if you notice, today we're talking about relative clauses. And if you remember, we have two types of relative clauses. We have defining, which give you essential information, or non-defining, that give you extra information. Now, how many clauses does each sentence have? Well, it has two. Very good. Now, let's read the sentences over here. And let's think about this. Are they the same? And what is the difference? Pause the video while you read and think. Okay? Great. So if you notice, the sentences mean exactly the same. But what happened is that we reduced the relative clause. For example, in the first sentence we had the house which was built on a tree is one of the safest. And we rewrote as the house built on a tree is one of the safest houses. If you notice, we just reduced. Second, this house which is standing upside down is quite unusual. The house standing upside down is quite unusual. Once again, we just reduced the relative clause. The house, which was built with a big smile, makes people stop and stare. Or, the house, built with a big smile, makes people stop and stare. Lastly, the house, which was built in the shape of a big shoe, makes you wonder about the smell. Or, the house, built in the shape of a big shoe, makes you wonder about the smell. Now, basically, what we're going to do here is that when we are reducing the relative clause, we are removing the relative pronoun. In this case, we're just using which, but you could reduce what, that, who, when, where. We can eliminate them. And also, we are removing verb to be. We are using past and present participles. In the first sentence, built. That is a past participle, right? What about standing? That is a present participle. Present participles end with ing. In number 3, we have built, which is a past participle, just like in number 4, built. The difference here is that we are going to choose a past or a present participle depending on if our subject does or receives the action. For example, in number 1, the house built on a tree is one of the safest houses. In this case, of course, the house couldn't do the action because people built it. That's why we are using a past participle. However, in sentence number 2, the house standing upside down is quite unusual. In this case, nobody stands the house, right? The house is in this position, so basically it's kind of doing the action. We are using a present participle. Now, let's continue. Please read the sentences again and come up with the structure. Pause the video if you need to. Okay? You should have the subject, the participle, whether it is past or present, and of course, a complement. Very good. Now, let's continue. Please read the sentences. Are they correct? Let's do the first one. The man is living across the road has a beautiful golden retriever. In this case, this sentence is not correct. Now pause the video and work on the other four. Okay, let's go ahead and check. You know the painting which hanging in our bedroom? I got it when we were in Mexico. That one is not correct either. 3. Our house, designed by a friend of ours, is very eco-friendly and uses only solar power. In this case, this sentence is correct. Very good. Homes made from brick tend to stay cooler in the summer than houses made from wood. In this case, this sentence is also correct. 5. My friends live in Thailand say they will never move back to a cold country again. In this case, this sentence is not correct. So, now, your homework is going to be to correct the sentences number 1, 2, and 5. Pause the video if you need to. Now let's go ahead and continue. Here we have some sentences and we're going to reduce the relative clauses. For example, number 1, they called a lawyer who was living nearby. In this case, what are the two words that we're going to remove? We're going to remove the relative pronoun, in this case who, and we're also going to remove verb to be, was. So we should have, they called a lawyer living nearby. Now pause the video while you work on the other sentences and then come back to check. Okay, now it's time to check your answers. Number 1, they called a lawyer living nearby. 2, we broke the computer belonging to my father. 3, the man wearing a blue jumper is in the garden. 4, we found a doctor working at a hospital in Madrid. 5, people arriving late will not be allowed to enter. And number 6, don't wake the baby sleeping in the next room. Okay, great. Now, let's practice. Let's go to workbook page 48. Here, you need to choose the correct form of the verb. Should we use a past or a present participle? You have the first one as an example. I have a small desk by a window, overlooked or overlooking the street. In this case, we're referring to the position this desk is in. So we're going to be using a present participle, overlooking the street. B. Out of the window, I can see a lot of people walked or walking down the street. In this case, because the people do the action, we're going to use walking. Letter C. In the kitchen, there is a picture of me taken or taking on vacation last year. Since we're talking about the picture and the picture is not doing the action, we're going to use taken. Now, pause the video and work on the other four. Okay, we're going to check this exercise during class. Let's continue. Now, we're going to be working on exercise 2. Here, we need to complete the text with the participle form of the verbs in parentheses. Again, you should have either a present or a past participle. For example, in number 1, it says, sitting in my penthouse suite on the 76th floor, I have a wonderful view of the city and of the ships up and down the river. In this case, the ships move. So they do the action, we're going to use a present participle, going up and down the river. Very good. Now, pause the video and work on the rest before class. Great, we're going to check together in class. Now, lastly, let's go to student book page 151. Please rewrite the sentences using a defining participle clause. For example, that man who is speaking very loudly is my cousin. That man speaking very loudly is my cousin. If you notice, we are just reducing. Now pause the video and work on the rest. Great job. We're going to check during class. I will see you then. Bye bye.